what are a variety of different ways that they can address people, as in viewers that they don't know, that are inclusive.
You can say, hey, guys and dolls. I made a joke.
Hey, guys and dolls. Hello, guys and dolls. Hey, guys and dolls. Hello, guys and dolls.
Or you could clap, it doesn't matter.
Oh! I always do this before videos.
Just so you gotta warm up.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. How are you, my internet family, and welcome back for another video. Today I am joined by Ash over here. Look at her. Look at her.
Hi.
She's here from America.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
In Ireland, and on this channel, and everywhere.
Ireland.
Oh, shut up. My name is Ash, and I am genderqueer and queer, and I make a lot of videos about LGBT education. I'm pronoun indifferent, so you can never mess up my pronouns, because I'm comfy with anyone. And yeah,
I have a lot of genderqueer and, non-binary trans followers, and I've been called out a few times on the fact that I'm really bad with gender inclusive language.
Get on it, Melanie.
Just for some viewers who may be a little lost, do you want to define non-binary, genderqueer?
Sure.
Okay.
So non-binary and genderqueer are both very similar terms. So we can, just for the sake of this video, kind of group them together. Basically, it's any gender that doesn't strictly or exclusively fall into the two binary genders, man or woman. Mm-hmm. So maybe you feel in the middle. Maybe you feel like something totally different. Maybe you feel like you don't have a gender.
Yes.
Maybe you flip-flop. Maybe you feel like a woman and something else. Anything that's just not one or the other.
And gender as in like how growing up, obviously, just as a very basic example, like pink for girls, blue for boys. Girls wear these things, boys wear these things. And like I have many friends who may say if they're a boy, like they like wearing high heels and they like wearing makeup, but they still identify as a boy. But there are people who don't feel comfortable identifying as a girl or a boy just because it doesn't feel right to them. Like I know so many girls who all the stuff that we say is girly stuff or feminine stuff or whatever that is associated with being a woman doesn't just mesh or gel with them.
Sure.
So it's basically for people who have that feeling. Like,
yeah.
'cause I'm perfectly happy, like, to
right.
call myself a girl and, wear all the assigned things and stuff like that, but
right.
you're not. So language for people like Ash and stuff like that should be inclusive because it's not taking away from me. It's just not leaving you out.
Right.
That's what clicked for me, because I used to not understand why we need to change everything, but that's really clicked for me.
Sure.
And that's why I need help.
I see what you're saying.
We've been talking about this all day, and we're both very much of the opinion that if you grew up with certain words, certain male-dominated language, and language that isn't inclusive of everyone, it can be very hard to, like, reverse it.
That's what conditioning is. Like, you're socialized and you're conditioned in certain ways. These are, like, hardwired into you. It's really hard to break these habits and these patterns.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
So,
but I think, like, once you want to embrace the change, I don't like change. I'm very happy with things as they are, but at the same time, as someone who's like lives in Ireland and is bisexual and has had that struggle of people being like, no, that's different from my way, I kind of have a taste of how it must feel for a lot of people who are either confused about their gender or they don't identify as a boy or a girl. Just stuff like when I'm not sure of someone's gender, I often assume their gender. And I've made videos say about like periods and stuff. I'll start off well-intentioned and I'll say period having humans, but then in the same video I'll say, oh girls, that kind of way. So it's just difficult. And I the fact that I have you here, I kind of wanted to get some advice on how I and like others can slowly start to rewire that in our brains. I use words a lot where I could use person or human or those kinds of things. So would you have any tips for someone who's starting fresh?
First things first, I think it's amazing that you want to. Like, and I want to note that this is Melanie's idea. I make a lot of videos like this, and people assume that like Ash Hardell swooped in.
Yeah, no, she was like open to doing anything, and I was like, no, I really want to like talk about this stuff. It's like the first time I met anyone who talked about their gender not matching their sex or their biological sex and stuff was Bry, who's an Irish musician. And I remember being like, this is only like a year and a half or 2 years ago. I was like mind blown. I looked up all this stuff, and then I found out all these other terms and things like that. And as someone who really heavily identifies with the label bisexual, I'm quite fond of labels. I find that they help me to kind of communicate who I am. So yeah, I'm just kind of, I was like, yes please, you understand all this stuff and help me.
So I think just having the intent and just having good intentions is like my first tip. So you already have that, and that's like the biggest thing. And after that, it's gonna be awkward because you are rewiring the way you talk, and it's just a really difficult task to do. So you have to get comfortable with uncomfortability. Yeah. You have to like accept that you're gonna make mistakes, and it's totally okay, and don't beat yourself up, because if you beat yourself up, then you're gonna want to give up and you're just gonna shut down internet. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay if you mess up. And like, we are so wired to assume gender. I still assume gender all the time. All the time. And at work, I work in a very professional setting, and sometimes I get scared or awkward, so I'll just say sir or miss because it's like
expected. And
yeah. So like, don't strive for like perfection because you're not gonna get it. I doubt, unless you're phenomenal and then you're way better than me. Just try. And if you notice that you do something not super inclusive, just make a mental note of that. Just kind of like gentle mindfulness noting practice kind of thing. But my biggest tip, well, let's just start with like they. Yeah. I would start with just
calling people they.
Everyone. Just for like a day. That's what I would do. Even people whose gender you know, like your dad or your mom or your brother. If you're talking about them, try to, the more you use they, the easier it becomes and the less unnatural it feels. So if I were to just meet you, and I didn't want to assume your gender, so I used they pronouns for you, it probably wouldn't feel misgendery, because it's not really misgendery.
No, it's not.
Right,
No,
exactly. But if you were to do the same thing for me, it would feel awesome, because that usually doesn't happen, so it'd be like a little treat. Maybe not me specifically, because I'm pronoun indifferent, but somebody who did like they pronouns, you know?
Exactly. And it's like, language is a choice that we all have. Like, everyone has a choice over what they say. And the thing with me is, because I've had constructive criticism from people and they've called me out on like things I've said, even on Twitter, like I've just said things that have been very just not, I'm not thinking about it. It's just kind of the way I've been brought up to say things. Making the choice to use the word they is so simple. Like, it's so simple, and it's not taking from anyone. It's not using more effort. Like, a lot of people will say that anyway, like, oh, they over there. Like, I've read, this is another thing, because I told you, like, I'm wanting to write fiction.
I love how passionate you are. Like, this should be more my issue, but I feel so much passion from you, and I really like it. So, yay!
But like, I want to write. So I asked my viewers like kind of what they'd love to see from me in fiction, and a lot of you said LGBT kind of characters and stuff like that. But I wanted to be very on top of my gender language, so that's why I started looking into this. I started looking into this before you like contacted me that you were coming to Ireland and stuff. And then I was like, yes, we can talk about this. I was like, I would love to know from you guys, is this something that is guys. Like, yeah, there we go. We were talking about this, and how do you feel about that again? You said,
I personally don't mind when guys is used as like a gender neutral catch-all for a group of people. Personally, it doesn't offend me or feel weird to me, but I know people who it does offend, and I can see where they're coming from.
I can,
because you feel excluded, and you shared a really like kind of powerful story.
Yeah. I saw it on a video, and it was this guy who was minding his nephews and his niece, and he just said to them, what do you guys want to do tonight? I was babysitting them, and she went really quiet. And then at the end of the night, he was tucking her into bed, and she was like, he was like, are you okay? And she was like, why did you only want to know what the guys wanted to do? And so he didn't want to make her feel left out, but with his language choice, he did make her feel left out. She was 4 years old, and that was, you know what I mean? So those kinds of words are just like plowed into us, and we say them all the time. And it's not that, like, I don't think, say for example, how do you feel about this, like older generations, people who are like 60, 70, and they're very set in their ways. Do you think that like they should have to change their language, or are you okay if like people don't really want to, or do you think that language should be policed and stuff like that, or do you just think it's better when people just want to address it?
Well, I mean, there is no real point in trying to, like, enforce strict rules or police people, because people are going to do what they want.
Yeah,
so
it's like with religion. It's like the way, like, I'm very respectful when people have a religion and stuff like that. Like, if someone is like, you know, call me reverend, like, you're a reverend, like, that's what you are. Like, I
see what you're saying. Yeah,
but I don't believe in the same stuff as them. But I respect that brings them peace, and it should be that way with everything.
And another thing is, so it's kind of impossible to police all language, and also, like, for people like me, you just have to, it would save you a lot of headaches if you could accept that sometimes there are people that you can't necessarily change. It's just kind of how it is.
I've seen debate about it a lot on, like, YouTube and stuff like that, about, say, universities and stuff like that changing things, or say, like, on a census, if they take away the Mr., Mrs., like, all those things. There's been a lot of debate about that. How do you feel about those things? Do you feel like sometimes it's necessary, or that it should be completely, like...
Well, I can't lie. If old people started using inclusive language, like, I'd feel jazzed about it.
Yeah.
And whenever I see an establishment or a university make a more inclusive move, it makes me feel great.
Gender neutral bathrooms.
Right.
That took me 5 times to say. I like gender neutral bathrooms. I think that's a great idea.
And gender neutral bathrooms are kind of like what you said before. They absolutely don't take away from anybody.
No, yeah.
Who could feel, like, uncomfortable in, like, a single stall gender neutral bathroom?
And you know what it is as well? A lot of people have made this argument, like, but, like, what if men, like, sexually harass women in the bathrooms? That's just giving license, or that's just assuming that men are going to do that. And it's like literally that tweet I saw Donald Trump tweet. Do you remember he tweeted, like, what do you expect men to do in the military? Like, obviously there's going to be rape. Like, it's just such a ridiculous assumption about men.
Kind of sexist against men, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think, gender neutral bathrooms is a great thing. Do you think there is a line, or do you think that it should, like, everyone should just never be assumed about anyone? Because, like, I'm sure you meet people as well who you're like, you know how they identify. Like, you almost, it's, like, very obvious how they identify.
Sure.
Like, say if I meet, like, a 42-year-old man down in an Irish shop, I know he's likely going to be fine with me calling him, hey sir, or something like that.
Right.
But do you ever feel like that as well, or are you really, really conscious of it?
This is how I feel about it. So I feel like it's really natural to assume somebody like that's gender. But I know for me personally, the more I get comfy in assuming people's gender, the harder it is to not assume people's gender. It, like, breaks that practice for me.
Yeah. So it's a conscious practice, like a conscious effort.
I try. I don't always do the best. I've been hanging out with I've been flying around to hang out with some of my trans friends, and, like, in the middle of hanging out, I, a trans person, will misgender them. And it's, like, the worst feeling ever, and it's just so bad.
Yeah.
But it happens, and they usually are very gracious about it, and I say I'm sorry, and then I make a note that wasn't great, and I try very hard to not do that again.
It's actually really comforting me that you're not completely on top of this either. Like, the way, because I was explaining to Ash how, like, I have friends who want to be, say, called this name, that, like, a more gender neutral name version of their name, and I'll forget and I'll keep calling them their old version of their name.
Yeah, you did that to me.
Yeah, I did. I called her Ashley, and I was like several times.
But that's okay. Like, I've collabed with people right when I changed my name, and then they'll say Ashley, and sometimes the comments are harder on them than I would be on them.
Wow.
And I don't want to come off, like, as an apologist for people who mess up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, like, oh, mess up because it's fun.
Yeah. For someone who is doing YouTube videos, what are a variety of different ways that they can address people, as in viewers that they don't know, that are inclusive?
You can say, hey, guys and dolls. I made a joke. Literally, just try to add anything. You just tack on a small, like, anything that includes people beyond the binary. So for, like, hey, guys and dolls, you could be like, hey, guys and dolls, and all of y'alls.
Yes, I love that. Oh my god, I love it.
Or just like, hey, peeps, or hey, everyone. There's so many gender neutral ways to refer to a crowd. I get a lot of people who say, I don't know how to do it. It feels awkward. It feels strange. But, like, if you are in a formal situation, you could be like, hello, honored guests. Hello, like, my distinguished audience. Hello, everyone. Like, Hi, folks. Folks, I love folks.
Folks is actually quite nice, and that actually would sound good in my accent. I should say folks.
Yeah.
How are you, folks? My current one is internet family. That's quite inclusive.
Yes, I agree. I would say so.
Families, like, can be any of the ones, any of the peoples.
I could teach you about a couple terms. Some are more popular than others. Some are, like, not super mainstream and might feel
weird,
difficult to integrate into your language.
Okay.
But I could teach you a couple, like, gender-neutral pieces of language that could be helpful. Please. Well, this one actually isn't gender-neutral, but it is kind of trans-inclusive. Have you heard of the terms, like, AFAB and AMAB?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Cool. So they stand for assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth. So sometimes I want to talk about my anatomy or the way society perceives me without misgendering myself. So I will be like, as an AFAB person... because it's not gendering me as female. It's saying that, like,
your
I was
body,
assigned
yes,
female.
Okay.
And it's more inclusive than saying someone's, like, biologically female or male, because that might not necessarily be true, because one, it erases intersex,
yes. Okay.
And two, trans folks kind of, like, have a hand in their biology once they start to transition. If a person who is very far along in their medical transition, if that's what they wanted to do, like a trans guy, their biology wouldn't be biologically female because they have tons of testosterone in their body.
Yes.
And perhaps they've, like, had some kind of surgery to alter their body.
Yeah.
So, but they were still AFAB.
Yes, okay.
So if you're looking, like...
So what's the AFAB and what's the other one?
AMAB.
AMAB, okay. But would that be more of a thing that someone would use to describe themselves? Like, or should I, like, ever use that to describe someone else?
It would be in, like...
Because I was saying this to a friend recently, like, that when I meet trans people a lot of the time, like, I don't even like saying that, and I know that's really stupid, and it's probably something that, because I'm not trans, like, you probably are, like, completely comfortable to be like, I'm trans. I find it really difficult to call someone trans, because I'm like, you're a boy, or you're a boy who turned and wants to be a girl, or you are a girl, like that. Right. It's like with Jackson, we were talking about, Jackson's an Irish YouTuber, and to me he's just a Jackson, he's a boy, and but he knows that he was it AFAB? He's AFAB.
Right. So that's when you would use, like, AFAB. When you wanted to talk about, like, Jackson in that way, when it was appropriate to.
Okay.
But you didn't want to say, like, he has a girl body.
Yes.
Because that would be just, like not
uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I totally get it. Yay, okay. That's something new I know.
Have you ever heard of capital M little x dot mix?
No.
It's so this was not as popular, but it's a little bit popular in, like, trans circles. Okay. So it's for people who, like, need a kind of, like, title, but they're not binary, so not Mr., not Mrs., mix.
Oh, right. Because I was thinking about that, because you always have to tick a box of, like, Mr., Mrs., and then the worst is, like, when it's Mrs. That actually bothers me. That shows, like, the whole male-dominated thing again, because Mrs. M or S is defining the woman based on the fact that she has a husband, whereas it's always Mr. There's only Mr. Whereas it's Miss or Mrs. Like, are you a Mrs. belonging to a Mr. or are you a Miss? Where there's no, are you a Mr. belonging to a Mrs. It's just Mr.
And did you know that up until, like, 150 years ago, he was the default pronoun if you didn't know somebody's gender?
No.
Yeah, so for example, let's say you have a day job and they're giving you a new assistant, but you haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I get to meet my new assistant today. I hope they're nice. Because you don't know their gender. You haven't met. But, like, 150 years ago, they would just go right to he.
Oh my goodness.
It was just he for everything. So it just kind of shows.
And even, like, so many jobs have man in the title. Yeah. And it does put women off from applying for those jobs, you know what I mean? But yeah, so they is the main one I'm going to try and focus on using, and if I'm doing videos, say about things that affect mostly females, but that, like, people watching may affect them, and I want to be inclusive. I'll say they when I remember, and, like, person, people, human.
And if you're talking about biology, just talk about the, like, anatomy and the parts. You don't have to associate it with gender. So and you've done that before, I think, like, owners of vaginas. And
Yes.
It's probably a fun word to just say right when someone walks in.
Yeah, my dad just walked in the door and first word he hears is vaginas. This is a very typical day in my house when I'm filming YouTube videos. But I'll wrap it up there. But like, thank you so much for being here and like chatting to me about this.
Thank you for wanting to.
That's
cool.
But even just us chatting about it, like ultimately there's no like, you know, this is going to be an ongoing process for the world, I think. But it's just making you guys maybe a bit more aware of it. Maybe a lot of you are like me from a couple of years ago and never think about this ever. And it's just nice to kind of start, because we're just the world, we're moving forward, and it's nice.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it. It makes people feel comfy and neat, and it's
And look, we did a video as well over on Ash's channel, and we were talking about our first queer kisses. So I'll have that linked down below, and you should go and watch her because she's deadly. So
thank you. I know deadly is a slang Irish term.
Yeah.